Hello and welcome to the Gaggable Challenge. And if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has gone to Israel. Nothing unusual about that. Somebody would say, well, where else would Marco Rubio be most days of the week? He'd be in Israel. The thing that is a
Maybe
little
he even thinks that he's not even left the country.
exactly. Um, and there's some nice pictures of him with Netanyahu and the U.S. ambassador.
And the Wailing Wall, I think he did a wall.
Yeah, they do the Wailing Wall and they've got the thing on. And now, what's striking about this visit was that it just comes a few days after Israel's attack on Qatar and the apparent displeasure that this attack provoked on the part of the U.S. government. I mean, we talked about it the other
I
day.
didn't see that, George.
Well, you remember Trump saying, "I'm not happy about this."
Well,
Um,
that's one of his more frequent refrains as his administration moves forward.
yes, that
He's not a happy president, George.
I'm not happy.
He's not a
Not,
happy president.
yeah, he's very
Yeah,
unhappy.
but I mean, the images I saw of Marco Rubio, I think I saw smiles. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Well, I think that's it. Now, I as we discussed the other day, there are two possible ways that we can look at the Israel attack on Qatar, which was either the story that the United States government is going with, which we didn't know. We just told the U.S. military told the White House, "Hey, there's an Israeli attack in progress," and then the White House gone on to Qatar. Steve Witkoff called the Qatari prime minister, by which time it was already too late because the bombs had already landed.
Yeah, and there was a stand down order of the American military base in Qatar.
Right,
So,
but
I mean,
that's right. So well, that's one story. But let's if you go with that, that's so sorry. Well, it was just
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're giving
yeah,
that slack.
exactly. That's one version. Okay, and the United States says we are very unhappy about this because Qatar is a friend and an ally, and we don't appreciate friends and allies getting thumped over the head, particularly when they are acting as good faith mediators. So if that's the story you want to go with, then you say, well, great. And what punishment are you now going to inflict on Israel for defying your orders? Well, I mean, Marco Rubio's visit would suggest that that punishment has kind of been put on the back burner
Well,
in perpetuity. That's at least that's one option. Yeah, go on.
yeah, well, so we have the Adelson money. There's people endlessly talk about that going into Trump's coffers and other rich American Jews. If I were the Qatar and saying my money's no good, I mean, we put a lot of money in the United States. Okay, we gave you a plane for God's sake. Okay, I
Yeah.
mean, one thing I think is not given enough attention is this is a way to kind of thump on Qatar as like, know your place, know your place, and know you will not compete for American influence.
But of course, that does raise a number of issues because if the alternative theory, which is that they colluded, they were in on this together, and that this is just a rerun of what was done to Iran earlier in the summer, they went through the process of negotiation, which is what was happening here. I mean, it was, Trump had put forward this peace plan, the ceasefire plan. Hamas leaders were in Doha discussing this when they were hit by Israel. And if the United States was in on this, then essentially you're making a mockery, first of all, of Qatar, obviously, as acting as a mediator. You're making a mockery even of this whole process of negotiations. So you're making Qatar, your good friend and ally, a right buddy Charlie, a right idiot in the world. I mean, it's like you get thumped for acting as your mediators, how trying to help arrange the ceasefire that you purport to want to see. And if the goal was, of course, to kill all these Hamas leaders. Now that I mean, this apparently, I mean, we can't be sure yet, but it does look as if Israel missed their target. That means they're still alive. But let's say Israel had succeeded. Well, who would there be left to negotiate? Who's going to be doing the negotiate for any future ceasefires or peace plan? Because there's no one else. I mean, these are pretty much the only Hamas leaders that are left alive. Everyone else has kind of been killed. That hasn't done Israel any good. Israel hasn't won the war as a result, but at least these people can negotiate something or other with Israel. If you get rid of them, then there's no one left to negotiate with.
Yeah, and just think about everyone, the survivors of that unprovoked illegal attack, the Hamas leaders. George, how do you think they feel being in Qatar still?
All
I
right.
mean, we'll assign you security. Okay, okay. What is that worth?
All right.
The George gave the two scenarios, but they end up being the same. The result is the
The
same.
result is the same. The result
The
is the same.
result is the same, is meaning no matter how close you are to the United States, your security is far from guaranteed.
Yep.
One of the interesting things with Marco Rubio going to Israel and Huckabee like a jack-o'-lantern smiling all the time. The guy is so loathsome. Um, what do you think the Jordanians are thinking? The Egyptians, the Saudis, the Turks. I mentioned this earlier today.
Right.
Okay. No, the Rubicon has been crossed. I mean, you can make the argument that was crossed a long time ago. Fine, I would be interested in that argument. But, you know, America's most loyal ally in the Middle East. I mean, it's like a friend of NATO and everything else, okay?
Right.
So it's a message to everyone in the region, no matter how close you are, no matter how much money you pour into coffers or endowments and all that, you are not safe.
You are not safe, but it also is a problem because many of these Arab states, these allies of the United States, these Gulf Arab states, and Egypt and Jordan and the rest have been so weak and have shown so little resistance to the United States. I mean, we think 50 years ago they imposed an oil embargo. They imposed an oil embargo on the
I
West.
remember the lines at the filling
Yeah,
station. Yep.
yeah, yeah, and they did. And that was the second oil embargo. So they did two oil embargoes. There was one in 73, and they did another one in 79. So yeah, they did that. And there was a time when they did at least put up some resistance. So during all this time, there's been nothing. I mean, not the United Arab Emirates, which was signed onto the Abraham Accords, it didn't even withdraw from the Abraham Accords. There's a minimum that they could have done. And they haven't done it. Jordan was one of the first to recognize Israel. I mean, it was Egypt, and then the next one was Jordan. Jordan hasn't withdrawn recognition. Egypt hasn't withdrawn recognition. So if you act as weakly as this, you are going to get thumped. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's it really is like eat or be eaten. I mean,
Well,
that's
the
the world.
way I surmise, which I've thought of, that a possibility of for a long time, but after the attack on Doha, I think it's very much a possibility, is they will force the Rafah crossing open, and that's when they're going to start. And this Egypt is the only country that really has a, I don't want to say independent, but it has more autonomy in its military, and it's an important institution in Egypt. It does have a lot of American arms. I mean, that it is I don't want to use formidable, but it's not like the Gulf countries that just buy all this shiny stuff. They don't know how to use it.
No,
They pay other people to do it
no,
for
no,
them.
no. That's
Okay.
just a money law.
Egypt's a little bit different, okay? And I think that this was, Israel thinks it's very, very clever. It's very cruel the pager attack on Lebanon. It's very cruel, but it's not very clever. And I'm going back to my original line. They're going to solve all problems in all places at the same time. And I think that
Well, if that happens, I mean,
it sends a message. Nobody is safe, no matter what your relationship is with Washington.
right. So here's the
This is the Sunday slideshow.
the Sunday slideshow. Um, Here's the Times of Israel. Um, Rubio flies to Israel. We'll have to talk about Doha strike.
Talk about.
We're going to talk about it. I mean, what else are we going to talk about? Um, and then and
Maybe maybe we can go to the bar, and have a couple drinks,
exactly, like at a cocktail party. What do we?
Yeah, yeah, well, with those little umbrellas there. Yeah, yeah. Just a quickie. I don't want to spoil the mood. Okay.
Um, and it says uh, in an English language tweet on Saturday night, Netanyahu appeared to acknowledge that the missile strike had failed to kill the targeted Hamas leaders and stated that eliminating them would rid the main obstacle to releasing all our hostages and ending the war. A total
Comma, and keeping me in power. Keep
keeping me,
going.
but it's a total idiocy. How would that help release the hostages? You kill the negotiators. How's that going to help the hostages? I mean, it just makes even no sense. I mean, anybody can say no. That actually probably will seal the fate of the
That's right.
hostages.
That's right.
Um, and then on the tarmac in Washington, ahead of his flight, Rubio told reporters that the U.S. is not happy. See, that he's also not happy about the Israeli strike targeting Hamas leaders. But the attack will not change Washington's allied status with Israel.
Okay.
No punishment. Well, wow. And we were expecting sanctions and a real some tough words from the administration, but apparently not.
Well, it appears being unhappy in no way changes the way you feel about
That's
Israel.
right. That's right. So again, that means this Trumpian coinage, unhappy, it means nothing. I mean, it's like the variation on Trump saying somebody's a fantastic guy. I mean, it's like it doesn't mean anything because you're either a fantastic guy or he's not happy with some guy. But the result is the same. Here's Axios that says Rubio to discuss with Netanyahu Israeli plan for possible West Bank annexation. So he's going to talk about the strike on
Oh,
Doha, but apparently he's
it's
also going to discuss the West Bank annexation.
the attack on Doha was a long time ago. It's
It
move
was,
on.
yes, it was,
Let's
yes, yes,
move
yes,
on.
yes. Move exactly. The irony
You're
is
still talking about the attack on Doha.
the
Come on. You
exactly.
came all this way. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to discuss during his trip to Israel the possibility of Israeli annexation of parts of the occupied West Bank in response to the planned recognition of the state of Palestine by numerous Western countries later this month. So, it's very important the way they framed it, like the cause and effect. If it hadn't been for the recognition of the state of Palestine, the Israel would never
Oh,
put suggested annexing parts of the West
you know,
Bank. Never, it wouldn't have happened.
you know, Axios sometimes can pleasantly surprise me from time to time, but this is slop. Okay, possibility of Israeli annexation. The West Bank has slowly been annexed since 1967. Okay, all right. So get real,
Right,
get real.
exactly.
And don't press me on the percent, George, but what percent is already de facto annexed? It's like in the
But
70s or
I,
something. I don't.
I, I don't know. I mean, it's yeah, yeah,
Well, of any meaningful
right.
legal.
Because everything depends on how you're going to count this. But there's not really much of the West Bank that doesn't have settlers in it. And then Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu still hasn't made a decision about whether to go for annexation and the scope of such a move. So he hasn't made a decision, and in other words, everything is he's waiting on Trump. Um,
He's already made a decision. He made it a long time ago.
I kind of, yeah. I mean, during the first Trump term, he wanted to do it. Trump said
Right.
no then, but this is different. He wants to learn in his meeting with Rubio if President Trump would support annexation, and Israeli officials said. So that's what they're going to talk about over cocktails. So if I do it, is Trump going to do what? Is he going to say he's unhappy about it? We can live with that.
We, we that works. That works. That works.
Most of the international community views the West Bank as occupied territory and would consider any Israeli annexations illegal and inflammatory, except that they're not going to do anything about it. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's true, but I mean, this has been going on since 1967. Nobody has done much about it since 1967. The UAE has warned the Trump administration and the Israeli government that annexation of the West Bank would significantly harm
Oh my God.
the UAE-Israel peace treaty
Oh yeah.
and the broader Abraham Accords. Also, it's going to, but
I mean,
no
Axios.
one's doing anything. No one's doing anything drastic like leaving the Abraham Accords.
Okay, and Axios again. Shame on you. In this was written after the attack on Doha, so
Yeah,
I mean, would significantly harm. No, it won't. Okay.
yeah. And the president's hope of expanding them. It's
Because if the UAE objects, they can be bombed. If they don't object, they can be bombed. That's
That's
what
right.
we know.
That's right. That's it. Yeah. Um, and then two Israeli officials told Axios that Rubio has signaled in private meetings that he doesn't oppose West Bank annexations. He kind of signaled this in public meetings as
Yeah.
well. I mean, it doesn't even have to be in private meetings.
It must be such an interesting, unique situation to give away something that's not even yours,
That's right.
isn't it?
Not even yours. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And the Trump administration won't stand in the way. The Israeli claims raised alarm inside the Trump administration, mainly because there was no clear U.S. position on the issue, and there was a feeling that Israel government was trying to box in the Trump administration.
Okay, and since when has there been a clear U.S.
Well,
position?
exactly. That's a very interesting because, of course, at least the official U.S. position has been ever since 67, which is we oppose settlements on occupied territories. I mean, everyone has gone on, they've gone on saying that.
Oh yeah, Dershowitz even said it's a problem. Okay.
Exactly. Even Dershowitz, oh, I think
No, he said it doesn't help. It doesn't help.
it doesn't help. Now, Trump has kind of gone beyond that, but not quite. He hasn't abandoned that policy, the post 1967 policy that we don't support the settlements. But now there's been nothing. I mean, it's a kind of an extraordinary, the Trump administration that you basically there hasn't been anything. I mean, we talked about it before, how Netanyahu sat there. Trump is asked, what do you think of the two-state solution? And he said, well, I'm going to defer to, yeah, exactly. Ask him. Don't ask me. I'm just the president.
I always kind of like it when he puts his elbows on his
That's
knees.
it.
It's like, well, why don't you ask him?
Yeah, exactly. Um, anyway, the key concern the White House and the State Department officials have voiced in these meetings was that Israeli annexation of parts of the West Bank would lead to the collapse of the Abraham Accords and tarnish Trump's legacy. So
Well,
that's
then
the key
maybe the
problem.
White
Hey,
House.
how am I going to get my Nobel Peace Prize if the Abraham Accords crumble?
Well, I mean, the fact that Israel bombed a strategic ally of the United States in the Middle East means the Israelis don't give a hoot about the
No,
Abraham Accords.
no.
They don't at all.
But Trump, of course,
Well,
does
well,
worry.
Trump does.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he's talked about this Abraham Accords ever since 2020. So that's been talking about this now for more than 5 years. So if something happens to, but to be honest, it doesn't look on the face of it that anyone's going to be doing anything very drastic. I mean, the UAE hasn't done anything drastic for a long time. Doesn't sound like they're about to start.
Well, I mean, as Professor Morandi pointed out on my program, is that all of these Gulf monarchies, they all have dual, triple citizenship. They have their estates and money in the West. Okay. I mean, again, just by the behavior of those, and they're not even states, they're families.
Right,
Okay. They're family businesses. Okay. And their allegiance is to their status.
right.
Okay. You know, what do you think about that family, the family of the man that was the Qatari that was killed? You know, well, it happened. Sorry. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
yeah, yeah.
It's you know, they sure they'll object. We don't like that. We're unhappy. Okay, everybody's unhappy, but that's the way it is.
Like, it is quite amazing that, ever since the the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and then the gradually falling under the sway of the British and then the Americans, they've managed to retain these completely fake artificial states. They're still there, you
No,
know.
I mean, look at Qatar. It's just like a branch of the Saudi royal family. They broke off and they started their own, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
their own gig.
That's
I mean,
right.
they're all related to each
Yeah,
other
that's right. Yeah,
somehow.
that's
Okay.
right. It's totally a family-run enterprise. So if you're a member of the family, you're doing extremely well. You're very wealthy. You travel around the world, and why would you care about the Palestinians? I mean, the only reason you'd care is that somebody may make life difficult for you. Well, then you just buy them off. I mean, that's kind of what they've been doing. Just buy off anyone who's making difficulties. But essentially, it's a family-run enterprise, and then they import labor. I mean, they're very good at importing labor and then throwing that labor out as appropriate. They don't get any benefits. I mean, they certainly don't get citizenship. But it's a nice
Yeah, and then
enterprise for those who've got money.
they have a major news outlet called Al Jazeera
Right.
that whitewashes them, puts a nice veneer on this very. It's a very progressive place, Qatar. Did you know that, George?
Yeah, very. So this is the Times of Israel, which reported that Trump and Witkoff dined on Friday night with the Qatari Prime Minister in New York, days after Israeli striking on
I
Hamas.
think the first at the dinner. Can you imagine? You know, Witkoff is right next to Trump, and okay, Mr. Prime Minister, please join us, for dinner. We were told what you like. It's on the menu. But before we just start our discussion about that plane, can I keep it?
That's right, exactly. Yeah, yes. To be honest, I know you want it back.
I know you
I,
want it back,
yeah,
but we've already started the remodeling, and
right. We just can't do that.
Ivanka's very upset, and
Sorry, it's just not going to happen. Yeah. U.S. President Donald Trump held dinner with the Qatari Prime Minister in New York on Friday, and then days after U.S. ally Israel attacked Hamas leader in Doha. I like this U.S. ally, just very helpful, put to insert that in
Yeah.
about the
I
ally.
could see them shaking hands. Yeah, it was nasty business. Yeah,
Very, very
nasty.
nasty.
I'm very unhappy about it.
Very, very unhappy. Hope the food was good.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure it was.
Israel attempted to kill the leaders of the terror group with an attack. Well, this is Times of Israel, so the terror
Okay.
group with an attack on Qatar on Tuesday, a strike that risked derailing U.S.-backed efforts to broker a truce in Gaza and end the nearly two-year-old conflict. The attack was widely condemned in the Middle East and beyond. And then Trump reportedly expressed annoyance about the strike in a phone call with Prime Minister Netanyahu, as well as in public, and sought to assure the Qataris that such attacks would not happen again.
I'm sorry, you can't use the playbook over and over and over again. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. I'm sorry.
um, and then it says Trump and Qatari Prime Minister the Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani were joined for the meal by a top Trump advisor, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Great dinner with POTUS just ended. Qatar's deputy chief of mission Hamad al-Mufta said on X. Well, that's good. I mean, you were bombed, some of your people were killed, but you had a great dinner with POTUS. So that's the
Yeah,
Qatar, the
maybe
deputy
we
chief of
got,
mission is happy.
I know some people that it can help with the refurbishment of the building if that means
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, exactly.
I know I have people there. I have
That's
my
right.
people, and
Exactly.
they're the best people. Okay.
That's right. Um, and then it says the session followed an hour-long meeting that Al-Thani had at the White House on Friday with Vice President Vance and Marco Rubio. A source briefed on the meeting said they discussed Qatar's future as a mediator in the region and defense cooperation in the wake of the Israeli strikes.
Well, I mean, this is the times of Israel.
This is the times of Israel, yeah. Yeah.
It's
But
not even worth my effort. Okay. We bombed you, but we still want you to be a mediator.
exactly, can you be
I mean, you
mediator?
were the mediator, but the Israelis destroyed the mediation, but we
That's right. But yeah, can you go on being a mediator? And remember, Netanyahu has said we're going to continue doing this. Netanyahu has not said we're not going to do this again. Trump said, "Oh, it's not going to happen again." Netanyahu has already openly said, "Yeah, it will happen again. We're going to go after these people wherever they are." So Netanyahu has in public exactly said the opposite of what Trump has said. Um, Qatar's foreign ministry said in a statement that Vance and Rubio expressed their appreciation for Qatar's tireless mediation efforts and its effective role in bringing peace to the region, and said that Doha is a reliable strategic ally of the United States. So,
yeah, but is the United States a reliable ally of Qatar?
I love this empty flattery.
It's
Can
just
we give Qatar something? Can we give them some kind of an award or some something to make them feel a little bit better? Just some piece of property in
well,
America.
no, no, no. Maybe I could give you a ride back to the airport and the beach. Because Kim Jong-un liked it, maybe you would. Okay, and Putin loved it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. And so this is Haaretz. The gloves are off. Ooh, this tough talk here. Qatar pushes the United Arab Emirates to close Tel Aviv embassy amid broader response to Israeli Doha strikes. So they're pushing the
Oh
UAE.
yeah, this is a really nice theater. Keep going.
Exactly. And so it says that Qatar is pressuring the United Arab Emirates to take immediate diplomatic measures against Israel, including closing its embassy in Tel Aviv. But they keep
Yeah, but
pushing.
okay. So the embassy is open and you get bombed. You close the embassy and you get bombed. So what are we talking about?
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Um, According to sources, Qatar's appeal to the United Arab Emirates, which is reportedly eager to recall Israeli ambassador Yossi Shelley. Um, so I think they mean that Israel would recall Yossi Shelley. They're not this. A former close aide to Prime Minister Netanyahu has been received attentively, and decisions are expected soon. Okay, so again, all this time, there's been no one's closed any embassies or anything else. So even here, your great friend Qatar, you have to be pushed and cajoled. Hey, can you at least close the embassy? Okay, well, we'll give it some thought. We're definitely gonna you know smoke a pipe on it. Think about it. A regional diplomat told Haaretz that Qatar does not intend to ignore the strike, unlike its response to the fictitious Iranian attack on Al Udeid base in June, which was a reprisal for U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites.
Well, that wasn't fictitious. It was real. I
It
don't know
was it
why.
was real, but minimal amount of damage. But
Yeah,
the
but
problem,
it achieved the goal that it wanted, okay?
right? Okay, but they could,
Unlike the goal that the Israelis tried to
right,
achieve.
right. But I mean, the Americans could live with that. They just did it. Just hey, get it out of your system, and then we can move on. I mean, that
I
was the
like
only
that.
thing.
Get it out of your system.
So yeah, all right.
Unfortunately, the Israelis can't get their stuff out of their
Right,
system.
right. And according to Gulf sources, Qatar claims, supported by document, that Israel and the U.S. requested it to provide shelter for senior Hamas leaders who fled Syria following the civil war, um, preferring them to be in Qatar rather than in Turkey. Well, we know this. We know that the United States wanted Hamas to set up an office in Qatar. No one said that by setting up an office, Qatar was now an ally of Hamas. It was just simply that it would be convenient to have
It was
an office.
the Americans in 2013 that did
Right,
this.
right,
Okay.
exactly, exactly. Um, from Doha's perspective, accusing Qatar of hosting Hamas leaders is seen as a knife in the back and could affect continued cooperation with Mossad, as well as other interactions between the Emirate and Israel. Oh, that's good. So we're going to go on working with Mossad. Well, that's useful. Um, since the strike, Qatar and the UAE, despite their tensions, have been coordinating potential reprisals. The UAE has grown increasingly frustrated with Netanyahu.
Oh, they're frustrated.
They're very frustrated.
Frustrated. They're very frustrated.
Because apparently they thought Netanyahu was a reasonable interlocutor. You could someone you can deal with. He's someone you sit there and have a negotiation with, recognizing that he's not pursuing regional peace and stability. He's not. Oh,
What was your
but
first clue?
he's not pursuing, but using the normalization treaty with the UAE for political gain before
Before
discarding.
discarding it.
Wow, that's you don't want to go there. I mean, that seems to be that's conspiratorial thinking. That he's not pursuing regional peace and stability, but he's using the normalization treaty with the UAE for political gain before discarding it. Well, that's very that's dangerous thinking there. Recent calls within the Israeli government to annex the West Bank have heightened concerns and are seen as possible reason to cancel the Abraham
Yeah,
Accords.
well, this is such a false argument. The Abraham Accords are not a holy grail, everyone.
No, they're
Okay?
nothing. They're nothing.
They're nothing.
They're nothing. It's something that makes Trump feel good. And it feeds Trump's ego to talk about the Abraham Accords. But
Jared Kushner, you're going to be building apartment blocks in all of these countries with or without the Abraham
right.
Accords. Okay.
The UAE, the only thing the UAE is concerned about is how much are they willing to antagonize the United States? It doesn't look to me as if they're very much willing to antagonize the United States. Qatar's relations with the United States could also be affected. Until recently, Qatar had discussed a defense agreement with the U.S. as a strategic goal. They are now offended and expect clear public explanations to halt regional strikes and end the war. If this does not happen, Qatar may turn to the Chinese-Russian axis for protection instead of the American alliance. The problem is Qatar doesn't really have too many options. I mean, it can turn to whomever it wants, but ultimately, if somebody wants to clobber Qatar, Qatar will get clobbered before anyone can provide Qatar with any kind of
Exactly.
security.
And the people the family that runs Qatar, they're so invested in Western economies and the
Yeah,
banking system, financial system. This is just hyperbole. This is
yes, it is.
hyperbole.
But they want to show that they have some sort of
Oh yeah, I'm a tough
entertainment.
guy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and then from Qatar's perspective, it is a small country with few citizens but abundant resources, yes, which could easily be threatened by Saudi Arabia or other nations seeking its high-yield gas fields. To counter this, Qatar has invested in international alliances and mediation efforts to maintain good relations with multiple countries. This worldview also led Qatar to host a U.S. Air Force base after Saudi Arabia expelled American forces following 9/11. Qatar has heavily invested in the base intended to protect against attacks and sabotage.
Well, look
But
how that worked
it
out.
hasn't worked out well. Um, for Qatar, a strike on its territory represents a failure, both of the Americans at Al Udeid base, who are expected to provide warning, and of its own defense policy. And it says, interestingly, Americans failed to identify the Israeli missiles. Yeah, very
That's not,
interesting.
but they didn't. They didn't
Yeah,
fail.
they didn't fail exactly. Anyway, so here's also Haaretz about this meeting today. Netanyahu hosts Rubio at Western Wall ahead of talks on the Doha strike, and then you blah blah, and then but it says before departing, Rubio told reporters he was visiting Israel to assess how events in Qatar might affect the continuation of the
Well,
war.
why didn't Rubio go to Qatar?
Then you would think,
You would think.
yeah, um, yeah, but says no on
Well,
Friday.
I can imagine Rubio saying, "Hey, you Israelis, you never do anything small."
That's right, yeah. Um, And then the dual back-to-back meetings with Israel and Qatar illustrate how the Trump administration is trying to balance relations between key Middle East allies despite the attack's widespread international condemnation. I don't see the balance, to be honest. I mean, they're just trying to say, okay, you know, give us some verbal formula that will keep you happy, and you'll come out and say, we had a really
They
good
won't
dinner.
even they won't even do that because they have no respect for
You know,
these
why should they?
monarchies at all. Why should they? Why
That's right.
would they?
Right. Before he took off from the US, Rubio also said Israeli statements on expanding settlements and sovereignty in the West Bank are an Israeli reaction to efforts around the world to recognize a Palestinian state.
Oh, give me a break.
That's
Jeez.
Rubio, and noting that the US had warned countries that there would be a counter reaction from Israel, which he said is what you've seen. So be a counter reaction. This is a counter reaction. Um, so that's it. That's your cause and effect. And here's the Financial Times, also nice. Um, but it was, but he's there, and here's the one which kind of echoes what you were saying earlier. What's happened has happened, Rubio said. Obviously, we're not happy about it. Now we need to move forward and figure out what comes next. So that was when was that was
Let's
Tuesday.
not dwell on the past,
That's
George.
right. That's right. So yeah, we're going to move forward. So that it happened. It happened.
Can't undo it. What do you want me to do? You want me to undo? I can't undo
I
it.
can't undo
You
it.
know
Oh,
someone that can do it? Talk to them.
exactly. That's exactly. He had a. It's not going to change the nature of our relationship with the Israelis.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And then here we have this. So this, Axios was putting out these stories. Trump demanded Netanyahu commit not to strike Qatar again. So he demands it. That's the claim.
Well, I mean,
And Netanyahu pointedly did not commit.
but it isn't the title itself is the real giveaway. Trump demanded. Like, Trump didn't order.
Mhm.
He demanded. They're different things.
Right.
Okay? Don't
Right.
do that again. Don't do that again.
Don't do that. But the
As opposed to you even think about it,
well,
you'll
that's
be
the
dealt with
exactly.
consequences.
So that's the point. That's why all these things like demanded. The United States has all sorts of means at its disposal to coerce Israel. Hey, what have you done to punish Israel since the strike on Doha? Nothing. It's in the past. We can't undo it. What's done's done. A few people are dead. Well, you know, take it up with Bibi. I mean, ask him for some compensation. Find what you're going to get from him. Um, President Trump demanded a commitment from Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu not to strike Qatar again. And then White
Well, I
matters
mean, the very fact that he demanded a commitment, meaning it's in the cards, it's going to happen again because there were no consequences for doing it. So why not?
why exactly why wouldn't it happen again? Netanyahu did not consult Trump or any of his top advisors until missiles were in the air.
So they say. So
So
they
they
say.
say exactly. So Axios always does this. I mean, they just put things like this out as if this is an established fact. This is the story that's put out by the White House. It wasn't put out by Israelis. Israelis said, no, 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 there was consultation. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We were working on the same page. Same thing happened with Iran. They also said, Israelis said, yeah, 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 we were working on this together. The White House initially said, oh, no, no, it was not, no collusion at all. Then they did admit there was collusion. The strike infuriated the White House and alarmed leaders in the region around the world.
So they say. Well,
These
I believe that people were enraged in the region. Okay, yeah.
The attack was damaging not just for Israel's global standing, but potentially for
Oh,
America.
you think? Wow, this guy's smart.
Qatar's prime minister told the White House his country would now reevaluate its security partnership with Washington after this act of betrayal, and said in a CNN interview that leaders across the Gulf were discussing how to respond. They love doing these interviews with CNN. They sit down and they pontificate. Yeah, we're gonna do. Netanyahu's a narcissist. He's a war criminal. They love saying these things. It makes them sound so tough and important. But there's no consequences to any of this. Anyone can say, you go on Christian Amanpour and say, he's a Netanyahu is a wanted criminal. Okay, fantastic. What are you going to do? Nothing. But Netanyahu is publicly unapologetic, even suggesting he might order another attack, regardless of Trump's demand. He's not suggesting; he's actually stating. He's
Yes.
stating it that he's going to do it. I mean, it's like
And he's not, and the message is directed at Trump.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
because the consequences from Qatar or UAE they're meaningless. Okay, so this is a open affront to
Right.
Donald Trump.
Right.
Suck it up, Don.
Right. That's right. Um, Trump's advisors were genuinely shocked by the strike on
Yeah.
Qatar. And then we had this. I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. I was very unhappy about every
I
aspect.
think he was more unhappy that the Israelis failed.
Yeah, it's true because of course, if Israel had succeeded, Trump would have said, "Yeah, we were in
Yep,
on this. Yeah, we
yep,
we, we
yep,
planned this, from the start."
yep. It was actually my plan.
It was
That was the
exactly.
real plan that was being discussed in Doha. The real plan.
That's it. Yeah. Um,
It was the best plan ever.
That's right. And then it says Trump held two telephone calls with Netanyahu to discuss the strike in Qatar. During the first call, Trump expressed disappointment with the Israeli decision and puzzlement over what it was supposed to achieve long term. I love the puzzlement. Yeah, I mean, that is a kind of a puzzle, unless you're trying to sabotage all possible negotiations. But
Yeah,
that would be a wild, wild conspiracy
I
theory.
don't know if the puzzlement is the article's word or Trump's word, but it is really appropriate here because he's just a piece in the puzzle. That's it.
Well, that's right. But the puzzlement is you say, well, obviously, if you're killing negotiators when negotiating a peace plan, then it sounds like you're not serious about the peace plan and you're trying to make sure that the peace plan is destroyed and that there aren't any negotiators to negotiate anything. I mean, it's
George, don't you get the impression that they all know what the lowdown is here. They know what's going on. But it seems to me that they're trying to play a psychological
Mhm.
trick with
Right.
themselves. They they we have to present it as in a way that is in line with the goals that we have for peace. It's tough. We have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. I think they are torn that way
Right.
because um, they have to speak to a public. The American president speaks to the American public very much different than what Netanyahu does because Netanyahu knows that people are on board with his policy. They may hate him, but they're on board with it. And so I just think that Trump is saying, yeah, we're with you all the way, but my goodness,
Right.
can you have a little bit more finesse to all of
Right.
this?
Yeah. 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 I think so. I think that what the media try to do is present all this as if there are serious negotiations
Yeah,
taking place.
exactly.
Israel is interested in bringing this war to an end. The United States is sort of acting, as an honest broker, genuinely trying to work something out. Gets angry and frustrated when Israel doesn't seem to be listening to Washington. So it's as if there's something serious taking place. And this is a fraud, and that's of course a key a part of the way media cover a lot of things. They want to present things as if there's a genuine debate going on. It's like, well, there are people here, there are the hawks, or there are the doves, and so on. And they no, they're all actually on the same page. There's one policy. There is no, there's no conflict taking place. And so that's why they need to present it in this form as if somehow and they did this during Biden. I mean, this is a continuation of what happened Biden. So we would repeatedly hear about how Israel is really, it's off the reservation. Biden is very, very angry. He put in a very angry phone call to Bibi, and then oh, angry boy, that's a.
Yeah, but
And
why?
then, well, what's the consequence? I mean, if somebody's angry, if you're the senior partner, if your boss is angry with you, then you say, okay, well, he can make life very difficult. He can fire me, and
If
that's what. But if you're not going to do anything, then this is just theater.
there's any genuine anger in all of this, is that Trump knows this makes him look bad.
Yeah.
Does he care about
But that's the interesting thing.
Qataris
Does he care?
or
That's
Palestinians or
no,
wherever these countries are? He doesn't
no.
care. But you're making me look, I get a lot of
Well,
heat
but
for
that's
this.
but
Why are you
that
doing this
that
to me?
well that just raises a question. What you just said. Well, doesn't he care about that? Because it makes him look like
Yeah.
very weak and ineffectual. That's something surely he
You
would care about.
promised with victory that it's going to be the Trump plan, is like remake the Middle East. So you promised.
But why? Then the question. But again, why does he allow himself to look so weak and ineffectual?
For an egomaniac, an impossible question to answer.
Now, our friend Max Blumenthal, and you have to say, I'm just quoting him. He said there's a clip of him saying Trump is afraid of assassination. That's what Blumenthal says. That's he is absolutely afraid of assassination. That's an
This is
explanation.
not a trick
Definitely
question,
not my
Joe.
explanation, but I'm just saying that is an explanation.
It's not a trick question. How many countries did Israel bomb last week?
Oh, last week. Oh, I don't know. I mean,
Seven.
it's bombed.
Seven.
I think seven. I think since the start of October the 7th. But
No, in the last 10 days.
oh, it's seven.
Last
I said no. It's done seven. No, I thought it was seven since October the
So, I
7th.
mean, I'm not going to disagree necessarily with Max Blumenthal, but yeah, if I were president of the United States and I was tasked with the Middle East portfolio, I'd be very careful. Yes, I would be.
Well, I think so because given given Israeli dexterity, well, as with the pagers, and
Yes.
probably they have even more sophisticated
Yeah, because
devices.
that was something that was rolled. That was a 2-year
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. But you would think they may well have more sophisticated devices than pagers against
Well, I
whoever.
know George. I'm just gonna say, Hugo Chavez died of cancer very quickly.
He did. And one should say also, Yasser Arafat died of a mysterious illness. He just suddenly fell ill
This had
and died.
something to do with radiation. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah. Boom. He was just gone. Mysterious illness. Nobody could quite um, diagnose what he was sick with. Um, so anyway, and so they're quoting Trump. It's unacceptable. I demand that you do not repeat it. Trump told Netanyahu. I demand that you do not repeat it.
And then Netanyahu said, I don't want to do it.
I
I
don't,
don't want to. I really don't want to do it.
don't want to do it. Yeah. Trump then updated the Qatari emir and prime minister, both of whom were furious. And so on. And then Al Thani, this is the prime minister. Is he the prime minister of the
He's
emir?
the head honcho.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the prime minister. Prime minister is Al Thani. Yeah, yeah. Al-Thani told White House envoy Steve Witkoff that after being attacked by both Iran and then Israel within 6 months, Qatar will conduct a deep evaluation of its security partnership with the U.S. and maybe find some other partners who can supply its security if needed. Yeah,
Empty
yeah,
rhetoric.
exactly. Good luck with that. But then the latest, a White House official denied the Qataris conveyed such a message and stressed the U.S. is going to enhance security cooperation with Qatar. Qatar's international media office said in a statement, Qatar is not reevaluating its security partnership with the U.S., which is, quote, stronger than ever and continues to grow.
Yeah, I want some more of that. Thank you. Thank you very
Exactly.
much. I want some
More.
more of that.
Exactly. Our two countries have supported each another for many years, and we will continue working together to promote global peace and stability, the
George,
Qatari statement read.
just think about it. Just think about it. These monarchies,
Yep.
when if Israel puts its mind to it, they could easily do regime change in these
Oh, yeah,
places.
yeah, yeah.
Easily.
Or if not regime change, just complete destruction. They can just lead
Oh
to,
yeah, yeah. There you go. There
yeah,
you go.
yeah. And it says in a video he released on Wednesday, Netanyahu pushed back and hinted he will not hesitate to order a second strike on Qatar if Hamas leaders stay in the country. I say to Qatar and all nations who harbor terrorists, you either expel them or you bring them to justice, because if you don't, we will. So that
Yeah, this
doesn't sound as if he's going along with Trump's plan.
Yeah, well, the Qataris they got a lot of soul searching going on here, George, because but Bibi, you asked for money to give to Hamas. I mean,
Right.
we helped you out with that,
Right,
okay?
right, right.
You know,
That's
yeah,
it's what Bibi's in
yeah,
trouble.
that was a long time ago.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, that's right. And money from Qatar. That's what Netanyahu's on trial for. All this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. Anyway, that's the happy tidings from Rubio's visit today to Israel. Well, at least he got to the Wailing Wall and he got to
Well, maybe maybe Mr. Secretary, you should go to Doha. I don't know. They've been recently bombed.
Yes, I think you have to think about his security issues, but I mean, it's open contempt for Qatar. I mean, you say we're really very angry about this, and I'm very unhappy. And then Qatar's waiting. Oh, well, so what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to impose any cost at all on Israel? We could give you a dinner. Would that do the job? I mean, nice dinner in New York, fancy restaurant in New York. Would that be okay? All right, well, it'll have to. But that's about it. I mean, but there's no consequences whatsoever for Israel.
Well, I mean, think about it, George. I mean, these families are large. These Gulf monarchies, they're not monolithic. Okay, I mean, there's a contention, and like the U.S. would the succession in Saudi Arabia, the U.S. was pushing for one. MBS looks like he won out. I mean, these branches of these families. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's time to move to France or time to Switzerland or, because, and take your money with you. Okay. I mean, these are very fragile places. I mean, they're very traditional, hierarchical. Um, they're not nation states in the
No,
way
then
that
not the slightest. But what's interesting is because of their association with the United States, they have a weight in the world that they absolutely do not deserve. I mean, Qatar got to stage the World Cup. I mean, it's almost unheard of that a non-footballing nation should get a prize like that to stage the sort of the top,
Oh,
international
and
sports
what is it?
competition.
It's the Saudis. The Saudis created a alternative golf franchise,
Yeah,
and that's a huge bit. Rich people like golf,
yeah,
okay? Because that's what rich people are supposed to do, I
yeah.
guess,
That's what
okay?
that's
And
what
they
they think.
create this entire new league,
Right.
okay? And they pick off some of the big players and all of that. Oh, we like competition. No, you just a slave to money and
Right.
take it. I mean, that's the kind of influence. That's what money buys
Right.
you. Okay. But what is the level of legitimacy of these regimes?
None, none. They
Shaky at best.
very, very, very shaky. They've survived because first the British and then the Americans protected them. You know, basically, they were anybody at all who is threatening you, we will come and support you. What the Americans did when they faced the threat from Nasser in the 1950s and 60s, when he did pose a threat to the Gulf monarchies, the Americans moved in and provided assistance to Saudi Arabia and to Yemen, and Nasser was then seen off. But that's it. That it's essentially this system of family fiefdoms has continued really since the fall of the Ottomans, and who knows how long that can go on. But it shows the limits of just this. Yeah, you can stage the World Cup, and you get to talk to Tucker Carlson, and be as if you're a serious statesman. You could do some mediation, but um, there's a moment when when we're not going to do anything for you. When Israel comes and thumps you, sorry, we can give you a dinner, but that's about all we can do for you.
And you know what? You're in a captive audience. You don't have any
No,
choice.
no,
So we can sweeten it for you if you want. We don't give a shit about your plane. Okay. I mean, you made your bed a long time ago. Now you
exactly.
got to sleep in it.
Yeah,
And who knows? You might not exist forever, so you're not going anywhere.
right.
I mean, it's very Tony Soprano,
Yeah, yeah, no, no,
kind of a nice little country you got here.
exactly. Exactly. I think they really, by being as weak and ineffectual and as dependent as they have been. I mean, it's really quite appalling, what they've done. I mean, it's like, I mean, everything about them. I mean, the way they squander these huge sums of money on military hardware that they don't need. I mean, it's basically just a payoff for the United States. And essentially, when push comes to shove, they're useless. I mean, they're completely incapable
Well,
of
I mean,
anything.
given the hegemonic order that the United States has created since the Second World War, which is evolving, and George and I talk about it a lot, it's as if these fiefdoms that are in suspended animation, where geopolitics is frozen for them because they believe that they have a security umbrella. Well, that's an illusion,
It's a
and
illusion.
it's an illusion, and it's a very strong message. Okay, that you have nowhere to go. Oh, I think we'll turn to the Russians. Yeah, right. Give me a break. Okay. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely, exactly.
Absolutely. So, you reap what you sow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Okay.
right. And they
I don't feel sorry for them.
no, no, none of the slightest.
I
But
feel humiliated watching their humiliation. Okay.
and that's it. And so when they say, "Oh well," um, Trump told them that it's not going to happen again, and then immediately Netanyahu announced, "Yeah, it will happen again unless you do as we tell you." Then that's it. You just you haven't got anything. So you're talking about these security guarantees or security partnerships. Nothing. You've
We
got
want to
absolutely
continue.
nothing.
We want to continue with our strategic relation. We want to develop it and enrich it and deepen it. What? Come on, come on. And if the Qatari Prime Minister isn't interested in it, well, maybe somebody else in Qatar is. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
No,
This is the what I've dubbed it the new barbarism. It's been it's been developing. It's becoming more and more apparent, and now it's just the stark reality. Okay, and you know what, George? At the end of the day, everybody's the loser in all of this. Everyone, I think. Okay.
no.
All
Yeah,
right, guys, this is um, please write us hate mail. We're more than happy to talk about it. And if you want to express your opinion, particularly what our first video here on Charlie Kirk, I'm ready for the arrows.
exactly. Yeah,
Um, we're ready. We're ready.
exactly.
Okay. And just to sign off here, we don't do this to please you. We just give our opinion. Okay. I'm not trying to up our hits or look for black money or any. That's not our agenda. It never has been. I don't say things to make people happy. I say things that I believe, and it's simple as that.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly. And that's really, leads us to as the We have a live stream tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time, and there's a tip jar that remains dangerously incomplete and
Underutilized,
underutilized, and the dogs.
unappreciated.
Yeah, and the dogs feel, yeah, when we see a tip jar that's unappreciated, we feel unappreciated, and that's when things start to get very problematic when they feel unappreciated. So, to get them into a more positive frame of mind, anything you've got, grab it into the tip jar, whatever it is, $100 bills, gold bullion, you know, sack of coins, everything just straight into the tip jar. We're very
And
big.
George and I promised not to bomb it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And the dogs get to keep all of it. Better because they're not going to allow anyone else to have it. So we're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve on the technology, and above all, we're going to try to get the maneuver the dogs into a kind of a more positive, upbeat frame of mind, which is going to be very difficult. They're not like we humans. We're in a good mood. They're not like that. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.